Thailand as everyone knows it. Beaches, monks, traffic chaos and temples. The Germans' favourite faraway destination. An idyllic paradise. But what's this? Are militaristic metal monsters now conquering the land of smiles? It's not as bad as that yet, but they too are part of Thailand. We discovered these metal aliens in a shop in Bangkok. Anchalee Sangtai is the mother of these scrap metal monsters. Business is good. She's just opened her second shop.
I got the idea from my younger brother. He always liked to tinker with sheet metal, and at some point I caught the bug too. Today I process scrap metal of all kinds. Sometimes it comes from an old truck, or like that one back there. That one used to be an iron, for example. We really use all kinds of metal.
Anchalee's aliens have fans all over the world, like David Fitzenmeyer from Stuttgart. He wants to order his own personal scrap metal monster. I saw something like that in a friend's discotheque and asked him where he got it. He told me that he bought it years ago in Thailand when he was on holiday just by chance. As I'm in Thailand now, I looked for the address on the internet, so now I'm here, I've seen it and I'm going to buy it. The inspiration for these junk monsters came from films like Star Wars, RoboCop or Transformers. Nevertheless, each figure is unique. What do you have in mind? Have you already some idea of what you want? Something about 150 or 2 meters. Something bigger. It should be something like that. Anchalee shows David her catalogue, in which she collects the most popular monster models. David decides on a Transformer-like model, cost €2,500.
I want to make it like inside of my house, yeah? And okay. I have a gym inside and I need that sculpture for the gym inside in the house.
A 2.5-meter metal alien in a Swabian front garden. What will the neighbours think? The neighbours gave us funny looks before, they'll give us funny looks now too. We don't really care. As long as we're happy, that's fine. The neighbours will talk anyway. Anchalee gets straight to work. Of course, she doesn't build her scrap metal monsters here in the shop. She has a workshop in the country. About once a week, she goes up to Petchaboon, a 3-hour drive north of Bangkok. Meanwhile, she has 15 welders and mechanics working in a small factory, which is hidden at the end of a dirt track. Every month, Anchalee's team builds 5 giant scrap metal creatures. Most of the time, they work on several jobs at the same time. They weld, drill and hammer 7 days a week to assemble the recycling monsters from old car parts and all other kinds of scrap.
If you look at these parts here, these shock absorbers and all the sheet metal parts, nobody can use or recycle them anymore. Nowadays, they just get thrown away and lie around somewhere. That's not good for the environment. We collect all this rubbish and make something out of it.
Once a week, Anchalee looks after things in her workshop and passes on the customers' wishes to the people working there.
I have received a new order. The customer wants to have a transformer similar to this one.
Anchalee develops the sketches for her scrap aliens herself, or works with photos or film posters. After that, she gives her team free rein.
Some of the boys here are craftsmen. Many come from construction or have worked in car repair shops. They don't get any real training. The most important thing in this job is creativity. The boys inspire each other, and so the ideas just keep coming.
The Transformer alien for David is to be made from this pile of scrap metal. Chon Lek Loy is welding the feet, which the scrap figure will later stand on. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. That's why I enjoy working here so much. After almost 2 hours of welding, the steel leg bones of David's alien figure are now taking shape. But this is not the only junk monster currently being created in Anchalee's workshop. Anchalee's customers include not only private individuals, but also museums and large corporations, and they usually have quite unusual wishes.
These will eventually be two 6.5-meter high figures for a pizza chain in the USA. The only thing that's fixed here is the height. Apart from that, we have no specifications. Every employee is allowed to be creative. That's why each figure is unique. There's never more than one of them in the entire world.
2 weeks later, David's scrap metal transformer monster is already quite recognizable. The men have welded the legs and torso together from ball bearings, shock absorbers, gears and chains. With a trained eye, Anchalee and her men find just the right parts in the mountains of scrap metal that they can fit into the body of David's mega monster.
A lot of people would just throw away an old spring like this. We see more in it. For example, it would be a perfect fit here on the ribs and arms.
Meanwhile, scrap metal monster builder Chiam rummages through the metal rubbish for ornaments for David's alien figure. The smaller the parts, the trickier the search. Of course, the giant transformer also needs a colour. David from Stuttgart wants silver, red and blue for his scrap metal companion. The men paint the monster with spray paint. Anchalee is hurrying them. She wants to ship the figure out today. The other individual parts, head, arms and torso, are already painted and ready for assembly. To make sure that the upper part of the body will stand firm on the torso later, the men weld a hole for the holding rod into the scrap monster's guts. After more than 2 weeks of workmanship, the big moment has come. The joining together of the upper and lower parts. And the monster stands free. All it needs now are the arms and the head. But why doesn't the monster tip over? It's important that the feet are stable, heavy and big enough. Then nothing can really go wrong and the figure will stand securely. We've just checked everything again. After this last check, we can safely say the figure's rock solid. And it should be. After all, the sculpture weighs more than 250 kilograms. Now the recycling transformer gets its steely blue eyes. And then it's finished. The mechanics and welders have used 1/4 ton of scrap metal. Exhaust pipes, radiator bonnets, chains, gear wheels, shock absorbers, all this has gone into our menacing scrap metal monster. Boss Anchalee is satisfied and takes a photograph of the finished work to send it on to David in advance.
When our client is happy with it, he transfers the money and then we deliver the sculpture to him.
For shipping, Anchalee's team takes the junk monster apart once again. The individual component parts can be packed and transported much better.
We are now taking the sculpture to be loaded and then we hope that everything will go well during transport.
The scrap monster is now on its way to Bangkok and from there halfway round the world by ship. In a month's time, it should arrive at David's address in Stuttgart, where there is very little chance of it being overlooked.